Everybody always thought that, we owned the auction, and I was kind of the spoiled kid and the rich kid and thought we had a bunch of money and thought everything was just handed to us. And I was like, man, you have no idea.
At this point in your career, by the time you're my age, you're doing something wrong. And I'm like, I think I'm going to be doing more. A nice car always obviously is going to bring more money and always bring what it should. It's almost overwhelming, almost to tears, where you just are so proud of your team and what's going on. And
I just can't say enough good things about you guys. You're doing it right. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Campbell Cars podcast. Today, I have Josh Lorenz. How's it going, brother?
Going good, guys. Happy to be here.
Awesome, man. So what would you consider yourself, what's your official job title there?
I'm the general manager at Orlando Longwood Auto Auction.
So that means you're the big dog.
When it's good and when it's bad.
It's, I've got a little bit of auction lineage myself, a little auction experience. I grew up, me and my dad started a horse auction when I was 12. So I was in the auction game and the horse auction for a long time before the car auction. So
what I've learned is once you get in, you don't get out.
Man, it's I traded 4 legs for 4 wheels, right? But I remember going to auctions when I was a kid with my grandpa. My dad's a cowboy. I kind of grew up a cowboy. So we used to go to horse auctions, cattle auctions growing up. So ever since I was a kid, I can remember being in the auctions.
In your blood.
Yeah. So kind of give us a background. Where were you born? Where were you raised? And then kind of lead us into how you got in the auction business.
Yeah, I grew up right here in this area. Grew up in Altamont, not far from the auction here. Kind of spent my whole life here before I went to Tallahassee and went to Florida State. Never thought I would be in the auction business. Got my civil engineering degree from Florida State. Went to work doing that and then had an opportunity to come here to the auction and kind of start outside registering cars and worked my way through every department in the front office, eventually into operations as the lot manager, then into sales at the auction, and then finally now I'm the general manager. So
for everybody that doesn't know, your grandfather, right?
That's right.
Actually is the owner of the auctions. Is that correct?
That's correct. I've been here 9 years. I started in 2017, a year after college, and been the GM now just right at 4 years.
How old are you now?
I'm almost 32.
32. So you may be one of the youngest GMs of a car auction in the country, huh?
I think so. I've met a few guys that are close in age to me, but
yeah.
At the time I became the GM when I was 28. I'd say that was probably true.
Yeah, that's pretty young. I like that, what you were saying. You kind of laid out that path. It's not like there's that misconception, because I know I went through this, and I'll ask your perspective. But growing up in the auction business, my family, we owned it. Me and my dad started it, and then the whole family was involved. But everybody always thought that, we owned the auction, and I was kind of the spoiled kid and the rich kid, and, thought we had a bunch of money and thought everything was just handed to us. And I was like, man, you have no idea. And I was thinking about that as you were saying it, how you started out checking in cars and then kind of doing all the jobs of the auction. You just weren't like handed this position, right?
Right. I mean, in a way, you have to work harder, right? Because everybody knows who you are. And it was important to me to be my own person and to gain the respect of everyone as Josh. And that was always something that kind of pushed me to work hard.
So did your grandpa, what kind of was his hand in this? Did he want to bring you on, or did you ask him? How did that go down?
Well, like I said, I never thought I would be in the auction business. It was something I grew up knowing about, but not really spending any time around. And I went to college never thinking, I went to college for 4 or 5 years to be an engineer, had a couple internships, had a great job coming out of school. And to tell a quick story, I remember the exact moment when I knew I was going to come to the auction, or at least away from what I was doing. I was at lunch in the break room at my last job, and I was talking to a guy who was in his early 40s, kind of a guy I looked up to. He had a family. At the time I was right out of school. I didn't have any kids or anything, but just kind of a guy I looked up to. And I remember him telling me where he was in his career. And if you're not at this point in your career by the time you're my age, you're doing something wrong. And I'm like, I think I'm going to be doing more when I get to that point. And I left there knowing like I believe in myself more than what I'm doing. And I had talked to my granddad a few times over the years about what it might look like, what it might be like, but never really took him seriously. And that was around Thanksgiving. And we went to family Thanksgiving. I talked to him. The start of the next year, I was here at the auction.
Yeah, that's when I was right out of high school. My path was a little different, just like you said, when it's family, like the expectations is so much higher, right? Like you just can't skate through that job at all. And me and my dad, we butted heads a lot, and he was pretty hard on me at the time, which I didn't like. I was young, I was a kid, thought I knew everything. He had his way, he did things. I had an idea of how to do things different. I remember I was working at UPS at the time and loading boxes and unloading boxes. I got promoted to manager, and I kind of had one of them aha moments like you, to where I was looking at the guys around me and where they were in their career and what they'd sacrificed. And they were doing it all for a company that they didn't own, right? And my situation was they kind of dangled the carrot. I'm working 100 hours a week. I'm just a salary guy in management trying to prove myself. And they were dangling the carrot, promising me a promotion. Then they jerked the rug out from underneath my feet and kind of screwed me over on the promotion. And it wasn't long after that, I just had that moment where I was like, you know what? I'll never work for anybody ever again, just because, for two reasons. I didn't own the place. My family didn't own the place. So I didn't really have a any stake in the game, right? And then at any time, they had control over me. And I seen all these other guys like wasted away their lives and divorces and gone through drug problems and alcohol problems and all this. I was like, man, that just isn't the path that I want to go down.
Yeah, I got to find my own way.
Yeah. And so that's when I was still kind of working at the car auction. I'm at the horse auction. I met some guys that were car dealers and their sister was into horses. And I started going to car auctions with them, and boom, that was it. I was like, I'm hooked. It's the same as buying and selling horses, but the cars, there's a lot more money, is a lot more fun. And that was 34 years ago, and I ain't ever looked back.
Kind of wish I was around in those days, because I hear it was much more fun and much easier back then, before Carfax and AutoCheck and all the things we all use now.
Well, I moved to Florida 11 years ago, and the first auction I went to when I was South Florida. And for everybody that doesn't know in the audience, how many auctions do you guys own?
We have 5 right now.
5. So
and South Florida is the oldest of the 5.
Yeah, South Florida is the original, right?
That's right.
Yeah. What year did your grandfather start it?
Had to be late 80s, maybe 88, 89.
Yeah.
This is the second iteration of South Florida Auto Auction.
Okay.
The one that's on 19th Street. It's the second South Florida Auto Auction. The first was in Opelika off the Turnpike.
Okay. Yeah, I remember. So when I first came down 11 years ago, that was the first auction I went to, and I was like, oh my God, I died and went to the car auction heaven. Like,
that's a tough one to start at, to cut your teeth at.
Well, for me, it was awesome because me growing up in the business, like, the auctioneers and the faster pace, the more faster pace it is and the more competitive it is, the more I shine, because it's like, dude, I'm like, Tiger Woods at 3-year-old hitting a golf ball. I was in auctions at 3 years old. So it's just like breathing for me. And when I went there, I was like, oh my gosh, because coming from Kansas, dude, the auctions there are so slow, and it's just a lot of good old boys, and it's really slow. And I'm just like, come on, like, you guys sold more cars in 4 lanes there than they would sell at the big auction there in 12 lanes. And you'd sell them faster too. So
I'm doing here at Ola with the 6 lanes.
Yeah.
We talk about other auctions that run 50 cars a lane. And I mean, we're running 350, 400 a lane.
Yeah. So it was interesting because there was some of the older guys there, and they were like, oh, man, they would tell me stories about back in the day. And dude, it was just like, I kind of come from that era too. When I was younger, the guys would talk about stories about back in the day. And then, man, it's just like, if you weren't around, like, you didn't see it, people wouldn't even believe that stuff, you know?
Yeah, it is hard to believe some of the stories, but I know they're all true.
What's one of the craziest stories or craziest things that you've ever heard or seen at the auction?
I gotta pick one I can talk about.
Yeah, is there one that we can, statute of limitations is our yeah.
Yeah, let me think about that for a second.
I'll never forget at the horse auction one time, we had a guy, and this is back when they were drinking beer in the auction and stuff. And one of my buddies, he got into a fight with one of the guys in the ring, and he was drunk, The next thing you know, that guy disappears. He comes back in. All of a sudden, you hear somebody, "He's got a gun! He's got a gun!" I mean, just like out of the old west, this dude, because it's a horse auction, right? So it's cowboy.
Yeah.
He comes in there. He's got 2 6-shooters like this, and he's looking for the dude, and everybody's screaming and stuff. And I was like, dude, there was so many. That was probably the only time I remember somebody pulling a gun. But there was some fights, and there was some crazy stuff that happened.
I've seen some fights here between dealers, between people on the lot. I mean, it's hot, it's sticky, it's nasty, and people get short tempered.
So your grandpa, did he start? What was his story like? How did he even get in the car auction?
His first job and only job that he ever worked for anybody else was with Ford Motor Credit. And his territory was most of Central Florida, and he worked as a floor plan auditor. So he would visit the new car franchises, the Ford dealerships, and check the cars off the list, make sure all the cars on the floor plan were on the lot or accounted for. So that kind of gave him introduction to a lot of the dealers, opened the door to buy some cars out the back door, started buying a few cars, dolling them up, taking them down to other auctions in South Florida. I know he used to go down to Imperial and Lakeland, and he started selling cars like that, making more relationships. A couple decades of doing that, knew enough people to open up an auction.
Wow. Yeah, that's it's always interesting. People, that's a part of why I started this podcast too, is people are always fascinated whenever I tell them, what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm in the car business. Like, what do you do? Like, well, I go to car auctions. And they're just like, oh.
They're like, oh, is it like Meekum?
Yeah.
They're like, that's probably the closest thing you've ever seen before to what we do, but
it's
not really like that.
They have this fantasy, right, of
Right.
the car auction. So I'm like, yeah, no, it's not really like that. But it's always interesting to hear like how people got their start, got into the business, and it's like, dude, it wasn't what I planned on doing either. And it's funny because I even know some of the auctioneers and ringmen that went to college, got a 4-year degree, and they're working as ringmen or auctioneers. So, I just skipped the college thing, so I didn't even have to do that.
I think there's a few things that draw people to the business, and it's either the pace or the money.
Right.
And in some cases, it's both. And once they start making the money and enjoying the pace, it's just hard to get away from. We talk about this all the time here. I mean, we've had employees or dealers or vendors, and they leave, but they always come back. And they may not be in the same role, but they always come back. So, you meet them on the way up and you meet them on the way down. But here we meet them in many different places.
Right. Well, that's definitely what got me in the beginning was the money. Like I was like, dude, I felt like a drug dealer in the beginning. I'm working at UPS. I'm making $1,100 a month salary, right? My first car deal, me and my buddy split. My profit was $1,100. And I'm like, I just worked 400 hours in 1 month for $1,100, and we just did a deal like that in 5 minutes. I'm done.
The first car I bought while I was at the auction was a 1990 single cab Chevy truck. It was like a childhood dream of mine to have one of those. I'd watch bass fishing tournaments growing up, and they all had that K1500 Chevy, and I paid $2,500 for it. And I remember calling my granddad. I was so excited, like, oh man, he'll be so proud of me. I bought a car. And all he told me was, well, the good news is the most you can lose is $2,500. Okay, well, I guess you're right, but that's not what I was expecting.
Did you do some buying and selling in the beginning?
Yeah, I did some for the auction, really just to get the experience of being on both sides of it.
Yeah.
I never got really deep into it, but I bought some cars off of ACV. I bought some cars off some other auctions locally. And when we opened up the BX lane, the NOP lane here at Ola, I was buying NOP cars at other auctions around here and bringing them here. So I kind of have a little bit of both sides. I mean, you guys are the professionals at that, but at least I can talk intelligently when someone tells me the computer bought the car for me. But
Right.
no, the computer didn't buy the car for you.
So that there's something there. So give your insight, because this is what always kills me is people think going to auctions, that must be fun, and on top of that they think that they're just giving away all these great cars and they're like giving them away at half price, right? And you
I
get
do
all
hear that, like, oh, you must get great deals.
yeah, you've heard that 100 times. So
Oh, my friends, hey, can you buy? I'm looking for this kind of car. You can probably find it real cheap.
yeah.
Like, no, I'll sell your car for you, but I don't want to help you buy one.
So give some people insight, like on what it's really like at the auction. Just kind of an overview of kind of the high and the low of it.
Yeah, I mean, we have different books that we use as a metric that this car should be worth X amount of dollars, and it either brings that or it doesn't. You know, I like to say that the car's worth what people are willing to pay for it today. It might be worth more next week. It might be worth less next week, but today it's worth this because that's what the guys out there wanted to pay for it. But people that are not dealers do think we get smoking deals. And, you know, if we sell 1,500 cars, I know people got good deals on some of them. But I also have people walk by and say, man, retail on that car was $64,000. The dealership had it listed on their website for 63.5, and I just watched it do 66 grand. I mean, what are they even going to do with that car? Like, I could have bought it retail for less than that. And that's true at times. I think a nice car always obviously is going to bring more money and always bring what it should. So it's not the case where we're going to buy it 5,000 cheaper than what the used car dealer on the corner is going to mark it up on his lot for. I mean, you know this. Those guys are hoping to make a little bit of money, but we're not trying to kill anybody either.
Yeah, that's something that I think everybody has this misconception on. Like I used to have these guys that work construction. Back in the winter, they wouldn't have anything to do, so I would have them get on Craigslist, go buy cars from individuals. I would take them to the auction, and we would sell them and make money on them.
Yeah.
And it's like the opposite of what people think. They're like, oh, the cars are cheap at the auction. That's where you get the good deals. And I'm like, I sell cars sometimes at the auction that bring more than what I could retail them for.
They just got to have it.
Yeah.
But you've learned this too, that a little recon can go a long way. I mean, I've had some cars off the street that is simple detail, buff the headlights, and tire shine make that car worth more money.
Yeah. Well, that was my first auction experience. I bought a vehicle at the auction. It was a new car trade, just dirty. Took it to my guy. He detailed it. I didn't do anything else to it and took it back to the auction the next week.
The same auction probably you
Same
bought it
auction, and sold it. I mean, back then this was 30 years ago, so I think I gave like $1,000 for the car. We detailed it, and it brought like $2,000. I ended up doubling my money, making $1,000 on it, and all I did was detail it. So that's why I created Buycon, my training program on how to buy and recondition cars. Because like you said, you've seen like guys will fight over nice cars, and they'll have the same car a lane over that maybe needs a detail, maybe needs a bumper put on it, something's nothing major. And then sometimes it's like thousands of dollars cheaper, right?
Yeah. I mean, we can do all the homework we want, get out there, our sale Friday, get out there Thursday, walk all the cars, but that car that's standing tall just feels like a better buy. And you're willing to pay more for it because, I mean, it's still that emotional connection to the car.
Well, and what I've seen too is nowadays they're the nice cars, because you sell a lot of auctions are, back in the day, it was a lot different. There wasn't as many new car trades at the auction, because I used to buy trade-ins straight out of the store. And then eventually
And we took that away from you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's my job, is to cut that out.
I hated you guys for a while. But now I like it even better, because when you're buying them out of the store, you had to buy them all.
That's the only way they'll do it. Yeah, good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah. So, if they had 20 cars, 10 of them we're going to make money. 5 of them we're going to break even. 5 are going to lose money, but you had to take all of them, right? Now it's just like, okay, I go to the auction, I'm just picking out the ones I want. What I've seen, and you can give a little insight to this too, So you've been there at the auction for how many years?
Going on 9 years.
Going on 9 years. So in those 9 years, and this is probably, what I've seen too, probably in the last 10 years, the amount of what we call good cars or nice cars seems to be getting less and less and less. Is that what you see too?
I did see that. I think there's a few reasons, at least recently. I mean, some of it is what we call digital sales or upstream sales. And our auction, there's other people doing it, but we're going to the dealership, trying to post those cars at the dealership before they come here, because that's a retail car and it's an opportunity we may not have. That car might not ever age out and make it to the auction. And we're posting those cars on platforms like OVE or Smart Auction. So a lot of those cars are getting caught upstream. But I also think that the dealerships are keeping more of the trade-ins or keeping more of those aged cars, and they're getting smarter about ways to turn the inventory or reset the clock, because they know that car is going to be hard to replace. So they're going to do everything they can to keep it.
Well, that's something I remember. I remember like a dealership had a rule, like if it had over 50,000 miles, sell it.
Put the keys on the board, don't ever look at it again.
Yeah, it could be the nicest car in the world. And then now it's like, I remember even in COVID seeing a Toyota store that had like a 300,000 mile car for retail.
It does seem like the Toyota stores, generally speaking, are the stores that always try the wholesale to the public, and they want to keep every possible car because they put it through that stop, start, and steer.
Yeah.
And if it passes those three things, detail it, put it on the front line, have the customer sign 5 or 6 as-is disclosures, tell them if they drive it off the lot, it's theirs, and that they want to retail as many cars as possible.
Well, that was the thing back in the day, was they didn't want the reputation or the headache of selling somebody a car, having problems with it breaking down, then them giving them a bad name, right?
They get a bad review online, and
Yeah.
it just takes one person to call enough times.
Oh yeah. Or
I see those
lawsuit.
programs come and go, and they always sound like a great idea until that one person squawks enough over a $4,000 car, and it's just not worth it to the owner or the dealer anymore.
Well, that was something too. So, for the people watching the show that don't understand, like when you go to so your auction is a dealer only auction.
That's right.
Which means you have to be a car dealer. You have to have a licensed dealership, which, you can have in any 50 states, right? And come to your auction.
Yeah, we even have international dealers, exporters.
Yep. So the rules are a little bit different. So, what I always tell people is, like, if you buy from a dealer, you have some type of laws and recourse, right? If I go buy a car from an individual and they lie to me about everything and I give them the money and we do the transaction, I'm done, right?
Yeah, I've been caught by that myself.
So at the auctions, kind of give a little bit of overview of that. So there's some type of there's obviously there's some rules and stuff, but there's also, and this is what I loved about South Florida, when it was red light, you owned it, right?
Yeah, that's true of all 5 of our auctions, which is not true of auctions across the country. So I guess just to quickly walk through it, you buy a car on the light system. It could be green, yellow, or red. We have a blue light for title absent, but we don't really use that anymore. It's just green, yellow, or red. You buy it on a green light, we're guaranteeing the engine, transmission, just general drivability of the car up to a singular defect of $800. So if it has a good motor, shifts properly, it goes in and out of 4-wheel drive, if it's a 4-wheel drive. Pretty much that's what the green light is. A yellow light is we're telling you a specific defect over 800 as an announcement. It might be the car's got engine noise, it's got a hard shift, it's got a bad 4-wheel drive, something like that. So you could sell a car green light and yellow light. The last way is red light. As you mentioned, I mean, we have literally told people here, if you buy it and you're taking it out and it breaks in 2 halves, you better pick up the second half because you own both.
I love it. So on the green light also, you have a threshold. It's got to bring over a certain dollar amount too, right?
Yeah, $3,000 and less is an automatic red light as is, regardless of the light that's displayed in the lane.
Yeah, because I know that every auction's a little different. Some will have like if it's a certain year, certain mileage, or certain price, that they automatically sell them red light. Like what? Why do they, from the auction standpoint? Why do you put in those?
Well, to be honest, we've talked about taking the $3,000 threshold up to four or even up to $5,000. Some of our auctions in the family have a $5,000 threshold because a $3,000 car, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, really is a $5,000 car now. But when we look through the post sales, we're not failing many cars between 3 and 5,000. So we decided to keep it.
Explain to somebody what a post sale is.
Anybody that's listening or watching this who buys cars here may disagree with me, but a post sale is eligible on a green light car, any car that's run under the green light over $3,000. You get a 7-day post sale inspection, which is not a buyback guarantee, but it is a guarantee that the car will operate as it should in the items we discussed, the motor, transmission, drivetrain, drivability, for the 7 days. So if you buy a car here from our Friday sale, you have until Thursday at 4:30 p.m. to have that car back here at the auction for a reinspection.
So you're a little more, let's say, nicer and probably PC about it, but I'm going to call it like it is, because this is one of the reasons why I love your guys' auction and the way you do business. You really, are putting the responsibility on the buyers. Like
they're the professionals.
You're not there to do the job for them, because it's like anything. If you give somebody an inch, they're going to try to take a mile, right? And they're going to try to take advantage of the situation. And then I've seen that where it's like when you get into arbitrations or post sales and green lights, like then it's, I know CarMax kind of went through this, because CarMax, like there's guys there that'll arbitrate every car every week for anything. And CarMax they had to learn that the hard way, because they were kind of letting those guys get away with it in the beginning, and then it just turned into this like
free for all.
Yeah, free for all. So I that's another reason why I loved your guys' auction, is because you know what? When you walk in these doors, you're supposed to be the professional, right? Like put your big boy pants on and do your homework, because that's how I built my whole business. Like I'm out there the day before the sale. I'm crawling in and out of the cars. I'm inspecting them. I'm starting them. I'm, feeling them, touching them, smelling them. I'm writing, all my descriptions. So like I'm prepared. And then you have all these, what I call the amateurs or the lazies or the idiots that just show up on sale day, walk in and just walk in the lane and bid on the car. They make mistakes, and then they want to put that back on you, the auction, or the seller, right?
Well, the guys that shoot from the hip, I'd love to buy with their money, because they must have a lot of it.
Well, that's the other thing. How many of those guys do you see come and go?
A lot. I mean, and we talk about this too, and I know you and I have talked about this. But since COVID, I mean, during COVID, it was like, oh man, the car business, I'm going to make a bunch of money quickly, because people were, not to say it was easy, but it was easier there for a while. I mean,
Right.
if we made a mistake, had to buy a car back, it was like, wait 3 weeks and you'll get out of your mistake. Once everything got back a little bit towards pre-COVID times, we did see a lot more people falling by the wayside that really didn't know what they were doing, just kind of were in it for the quick money.
How often, I remember in the horse auction business, we'd have the guys that would write us bad checks.
Greg, I'm sorry, I got to stop you right there.
All right, we'll pause it. Go ahead.
Hey, Joaquin. Okay, so Mikey's good. I don't need to go. Okay, see you. Thank you. Bye. Okay, no north.
That's nice, isn't it? You ain't got to jump on
just
text the wife.
All right, sorry about that.
You're all right. What was I getting ready to ask you?
You're starting to ask me about bad checks.
Oh yeah. So I remember back in the horse auction days, it was checks or cash. That was how everybody paid for horses, right? And I remember there would always be the bad checks. My parents, the bank would call them like the day or two after, hey, this check bounced. And then you kind of had the deal, or the horse traders back then. You kind of had your regular guys. Some of them be like, hey, hold that check. It'll be good on Wednesday. I'm going to take these horses. I got them sold. I'm going to go sell them. I'm going to get my money. Give us a little insight on how that works at the auction. Like how many, You
Sure.
know, you have a lot of bad checks. You have a lot of dealers you're having to chase, or you working with the dealers. Like, what's kind of give us a little what that looks
Yeah,
like.
so there's three ways you can pay for a car at the auction. You can pay in cash, whether it's like green dollar bills or a wire, ACH, anything like that. You can pay cash with a check or a floor plan. So for those who may be unfamiliar with a floor plan, it's essentially a credit card for buying cars. You're paying interest, you're paying a fee per car, and at some point you got to pay it off. It's not
Right.
just free money. Taking floor plan because that's guaranteed money for us. Cash and floor plan are guaranteed. You have to be approved to write us a check. So part of my weekly routine is every Thursday I get with our dealer registration and I review the new dealer packets or any requests to change how people pay. And we're looking at bank statements, we're looking at other auction references, we're looking at how long they've been in the business, maybe any previous experience in the business. And based off of that, we're making a decision as to how they're going to pay. So we don't have a lot of problems with chasing dealers because I think we do a good job of catching the problems before they become a problem. But I'm very fortunate to have a great collections team, and they don't
Yeah.
come to me for help much because they do a great job. They keep a lot off my plate.
Yeah, I remember, statute of limitations is up now, but we were our own collections team. And sometimes, people that wrote us bad checks, they got, they had to pay fees. It was,
Yeah. I mean, we have ways of encouraging people to pay, but we obviously will block their entrance until they pay, which a lot of customers, this is their main source of inventory. They want to be here. So we don't ever want to have to do that, but we do.
how often do you see, um, like an average over the year? Like, do you have a way of tracking like new registered dealers and then also like dealers that go out of business, whether they,
New dealers that we register, yeah, it's about 20 a week that I'm registering.
okay,
I don't know really. I mean, I don't really keep track of the guys going out of business or by the wayside. I mean, we get notified when somebody hits the KO book
okay.
or a local auction has barred them for some reason. We do a great job here locally of communicating with the other auctions about a guy tampering with a vehicle or not paying or any other infraction. I mean, we do communicate with other auctions, and I think people don't realize that.
Explain to people what the KO book is.
Yeah, the KO book is the book you don't want to be in. So most auctions are a participant with auction insurance agency, and they insure all of our transactions. So if a dealer flakes out, doesn't pay us, they'll guarantee up to 80% of a deal. We try not to make that claim, but if you ever make a claim through auction insurance, the dealer that is responsible for forcing you to claim will go in what's called the KO book. That goes across every auction nationally that's part of auction insurance to alert them that there was a previous problem with this dealer. And they tell us how much money, when it was, not exactly, but generally where it was. And once you go in the KO book, it's tough to come in. I mean, if we're letting people in, which is infrequent, we're going to require a cash deposit up front for them to come in.
Which is basically it's the blacklisted, kind of the blackball book, right?
It's kind of what we hold over your head is you don't want us to put you in the KO book because you won't be able to do business.
Well, and that's, this is another reason why I love you guys, love your family, your auctions, because I grew up in the family business, relationship business. You guys are technically what I call independent, right? Independent auto auctions.
Yes.
Some very big corporate monsters out there.
Corporate's a bad word here.
Yeah, we won't name any names, but I got myself in that black book once, and it was 2008, 2009 when the financial crisis happened and the world was coming to an end. Like, I own real estate. I had a retail lot at that time. I just had like 3 floor plans. I was leveraged to the hilt. And one day it's like the light switch just shut off. And I remember took me like 2 years just to kind of get back to even with the floor plans and make it right. I didn't screw any of the auctions over. And I got down to my last deal with one of the floor plans, and there was a discrepancy for like $2,000. And I'm like, at this point, I'm smoked. You know what I mean? I've been working for 2 years. When the thing went down, I probably was 250,000 underwater, and I quit paying everybody else because I knew if I ever wanted to have a chance of staying in this business again, I couldn't screw over the auctions or the floor plan companies. So I had that deal with them. It was a couple grand. I was like, whatever, blew it off. That was my mistake because I didn't think they would do it, and they threw me in the KO book over that. And dude, that thing hangs over it doesn't matter for people out there that are listening. It doesn't matter if it's $2,000 or 2 million.
Oh, I've seen people go in for a few hundred.
Yeah.
Like, this can't be worth it.
It's crazy because here's the thing. Because I had guys, buddies of mine, that took the auction down around that time for like 2 or 3 million. And the floor plan companies and the auctions, they were just kiting checks and running, and finally it caught up with them. And they didn't look at me any different than they looked at them. They looked at it, when you're in the black book or KO book, you looked at it as like a criminal. But I remember going to your guys' auction and having a conversation with the manager or GM at the time and explain my story and like, hey, here's references, here's the auction back home that I've been doing independent sale, I've been doing business with for 20 years. You can call the owner and ask him, and you guys checked everything out and you let me in. I've always said that I'm loyal to the people that have always taken care of me. That guy back home, that's a family auction. They still owned it. That was the very first auction I went to when I was younger. And still to this day, if I need anything, it's like I can just text them, call them. Like, people don't understand when you're dealing with corporate, they don't care. Like, there's no relationship. There's no, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's work it out. Or, hey,
just rules.
Yeah, it's just black and white. It's rules, right? How do you feel like that kind of separates you from the big corporate, and how does that, how's that?
Well, first off, we need every person we can have here to buy cars. I think we can, and certainly in the last few years, I've gotten much better at it. I mean, you can kind of see through the crap, right? I mentioned earlier, this people tell, oh, the computer bought the car. I don't want to hear the computer bought the car. I want to hear, hey, I don't know what happened. I mean, I might have made a mistake. I'm real sorry. Is there anything we can do? And I will work with that person every single time. I think to what you're talking about, it's kind of the same way too. You can tell when people are willing to work things out and when they're not. And we talk here all the time about you can deal with reasonable people. And as long as they're reasonable, you can cut a deal or find some common ground.
And how do you feel like for us, and I know from our experience, that being able to do that kind of gives you a competitive advantage, right?
Yeah, I mean, I hear all the time that I answer the phone and this auction answers the phone. I mean, when you call our number, you get a live voice on the phone. And I have dealers tell me all the time, you might not want to hear what I say, and I might not agree with what you tell me back, but I can get you on the phone. And that does mean a lot. I know other places you might know who you're supposed to get a hold of, but they're in some other state, some other region, and you're not going to get a hold of them.
Yeah, I'm sometimes I just want to run my head through a wall to get a simple question answered or talk to a person, and you're getting, well, they're in this center in this state. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm talking about this auction here. I have a title issue here, or I have whatever the issue. And they put you in a call center in some other place, and that person doesn't even know what they're doing. And then, it's like, yeah, it's a nightmare. I've always said it's my independence that I'm loyal to first. And if I can't do the amount of business there and I have to go somewhere else, then I'll maybe go to some other places. But I don't go to them unless it's just an absolute necessity. And it's for those reasons right there. You know what I mean? It's like, when you can actually talk to a real person. And I think that's what's happening just in business and in general nowadays. Everything's become so like transactional, so just black and white. You're missing the personal touch, which is another thing. When COVID happened and everybody was shutting down, going online only, you were like some of the first and the only auctions to still do in live auctions.
Yeah, we at Ola, we were 6 weeks only where we were digital sales. And we felt like other auctions kind of used it as an excuse, like they wanted to go to a digital sale all along. And this was like the perfect reason. I mean, we wanted to be safe about it. We wanted our employees and customers to be safe and feel comfortable. But it helped our business a lot by opening quickly and opening the right way, but still allowing people to the auction, touching the cars, feeling the cars. It's a social business. It's a relationship business, and our business grew a lot during COVID. Getting
What?
back real fast to the live voices on the phone, I
Oh,
have used that as a sales pitch or a sales tactic. I mean, I go to a new car store that doesn't run with us. I say, hey, you've probably got your rep at that auction, but I want you to call the main line and see if you can get someone. And it rings and rings and rings. And it's a switchboard, press one for this, two for
yeah.
this. And you're just pressing zero to try and get a hold of someone. And I say, okay, I'm going to call our auction. I slide my phone across on speaker and it rings one time. Hey, this is Lori at Orlando Longwood. How can I help you?
Yeah.
And I've walked away with cars before just by doing that.
There you go. Well, that it's. I remember the first time I walked in there. It's in the inside. It says the world's friendliest auction.
World's friendliest auction. Yep.
Yep. And dude, that you guys have definitely lived up to that because I was like, man, it's such a great experience. When you contrast it to, like you said, that complete corporate thing, dude, I still bank at my community bank back home in my town where I grew up.
Yeah.
For that same reason. These, big banks, corporate banks, they don't care who you are. Like I can pick up the phone and call my banker. I've known her, know her family. You know what I mean? It's like same thing. I can say, hey, you know what? I sold this guy some cars. He called me. His money didn't get transferred into his account. The check he wrote me is going to bounce, but he's going to get the money and put it back in there. So I'm just letting you know that when it comes through the bank, okay, Greg, not a problem. You know what I mean? And we work it out. You don't call some national bank and do that, right? Like if you had an issue with something at the auction, a dealer, and they came to you and like, hey, Josh, dude, I wrote you guys a check for this car, and it's not going to clear, but I can make it right. Here's what I'm doing. It's a whole different situation, isn't it?
I mean, I'm going to expect them to be here that day, but
Right.
we do work a little bit with them to get it
Yeah.
squared away.
And you can't walk in those corporate places and say that. They're just going to look at you like, cross-eyed, like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Now, you do that too many times, we won't take your check anymore, but
Right.
we do try and work with them when it makes sense.
But it's the thing about it is it's those one-off situations or that rare occasion, the difference between being able to come to you and talk about it versus not even having that option. That to me is, that means a lot, What do you feel like, we talked about the digital because I'm a big, I buy cheaper cars. That's what I've done, made all my money on forever, right? That's the training program that I built is how to buy and recondition cheap cars. And I, buy them all at the auction. Those types of cars that I buy, you can't buy them online. Like I've got to see it, feel it, touch it, smell it, right? And like you said earlier, I seen that shift where I think they, especially the corporate giants, were trying to go more online simulcast. What's your thoughts like moving, going ahead in the future? Do you always want to have in lane live sales?
Yes, definitely. We like to say tire kickers will pay more than tire clickers. And we like having both. I mean, we've got some old school guys, we have new school guys, and we don't ever want to force people to choose one or the other. We want to be able to offer both. I mean, thank God we do have the online presence. It's a huge part of our business. And we didn't have it before COVID. I mean, we started it right before COVID just by coincidence. We finally convinced our owner to get it done. But we didn't have online here for a while because there was a connotation that it would slow the auctioneer down and you're waiting for the guy online to click in. But it's a huge part of our business. I mean, almost 1 in 3 cars and some weeks more than that are sold online in the live sale. But I mean, you're familiar with our system. I mean, we've done away with like some paper gate passes, tried to push people to get their own gate passes via email. We allow you to go on, print your own reports, but if you come to my desk, I'm still going to hand you the report. Right. So we try and give a hybrid option there where you can do it as you want and not be forced one way or the other. But yes, we always want a live in-lane auction. I mean, at the heart of it, that's what it's all about, right? That's what the auction is. That's where people get attached to cars, the competition. the atmosphere of the auction that we all love. You don't have that without people in the lane.
Well, and that's what I was just thinking about the other day was like the emotion. Like if you're online, there's that detachment, right? But when you're there and you're smelling it and you're the auctioneers are loud and the auction ring men are yipping and the cars are going and there's just that energy, man, there you just can't describe that. You can't get that feeling from bidding online at your computer. And I think that rush, like for me, even doing this 34 years in the cars and however many years in horses before that, dude, I still get that rush. And I think that's kind of what you're saying. Like once it's in your blood, you're done, right?
There are some Fridays where, the first 10, 15 minutes of an auction on the operation side to get everything going, get those lanes moving, get the drivers back in the next car and get the flow. I mean, it takes a minute to get going, but once it's all flowing, I mean, we just stand back and say, man, this is real. Like we worked all week to do this. And it's just this feeling of, I don't know if it's pride or excitement but it's almost overwhelming, almost to tears, where you just are so proud of your team and what's going on. And you just have to take a step back and appreciate it sometimes.
Dude, you got me starting to tear up just thinking about it.
Yeah, when I was the lot manager, I got that feeling a lot more because we start in lane 6, work our way back to 1. And I'm sure you saw me, I used to run, like literally sprint around the lot.
Yeah.
On the radio, calling lane 4, let's get going. Calling lane 3, your turn, let's go. And you're getting that car that won't run. You're jumping the battery, finding the key, whatever it is. And then once it's going, it's like just this pure bliss. Like, man, we did this all week for this moment, and now it's working. And I would just stop and almost have like tears come to my eyes. But how many businesses do you know besides an auction where we work 6 days a week, more 6.5 days a week, to hope to make money one half of a day per week? I mean, we spend 6.5 days to hope to make that last half day of the week. And the only other thing I can ever compare to it is like the NFL. I mean,
Right.
They play once a week and they practice all week to try and play Sunday, go out there and win. And no one remembers what they did last week, but just what they do today. And that's how we feel too. It's always about this week. What can we do for you this week?
As you're saying that, it's really making me think about it because I know from our auction too, we did it every week. For a horse auction, that was a big deal because most of them were maybe once a month or every other week. And we did it every week. It was one night a week. We did it on Monday nights. And yeah, like you said, people don't realize like what you're talking about. They see the game. They don't see all the preparation. They don't see all the practice. They don't see all behind the scenes, everything that goes into it for that one moment. And I was just reflecting as you were saying that because I was like, dude, I used to scrub the bathrooms. I used to pick up the trash, just everything that goes into it. And like you said, that man, when it's game time, that is cool when it all comes together, isn't it?
Yeah, if we do things right, my easiest part of the week is during the auction.
I've seen you. I pay attention too because I'll be watching you at the sale, and you'll be sitting there, and I can see those moments too where you're just kind of sitting there and you're just taking it all in. I know exactly. I know that feeling of, and know what you're going through. And sometimes I'll just watch you, and I'm just kind of living vicariously through you at the
Man,
moment.
everything is just working the way it should.
Yeah. And dude, it's like you said, it's something to be really proud of because, there is so much that goes into it, right? And that makes the experience for the dealers, us, like awesome. You know what I mean? Like, every morning before the sale when you guys have the music playing and that ZZ Top,
every week,
dude, I still get like pumped up and goosebumps and everything. I'm like, get all fired up, it's like every week,
It's like, even if I'm not in the lanes, I'll hear it and I'm like, oh, it's 8:30 already. I got to get out there.
It's showtime, right?
I think we'll have that song forever. I don't think we'll ever change it.
I think if you did, there may be like an uprising at the sale,
I think so too.
But yeah, that's cool because That's definitely something that I was a little bit like not nervous or just kind of like, I don't know, when COVID happened, they started going to all simulcast. I was kind of like, man, I hope that the whole industry doesn't go to this, because I'm a live auction guy
Yeah.
100%. Like, I've bought some on simulcast before and I hate it.
I don't remember ever seeing you buy one on simulcast here.
Well, no, not at your sale. There's been some other sales where it was the only option, right? And like I said, it's kind of like even going to those sales. If it's the only choice I have, I'll go. But yeah, I got to be there. I got to see it, feel it, touch it. Because just like you were saying too, and what people don't realize is that human element. Seeing them, feeling them, touching them is one thing. But there's also those relationships with the auction, with your staff, okay, with the reps. There's relationships with the auctioneers. There's relationships with the ringmen. There's relationships with the new car store guys. You have a lot of guys that have been there a long time. They come there from these new car store groups. They're selling a lot of cars. You know, when you as a buyer build a relationship with a seller, like, dude, that goes a long ways, because online, you're not getting that same kind of interaction. Like,
Yeah, we see the same name come up a lot, but you don't always know who is on the other end of the computer.
yeah. So, if there's a guy selling a car, and that's what you're there for, you're there to put transactions together, right?
We
It takes a buyer and a
buys
seller.
and sells.
Yeah. So, if I go up to one of the sellers and I'm like, "Okay, it's you, Greg. Yeah, I'll sell it to you, because I'm there every week. I'm buying cars from him. I'm not a pain in the ass. You know what I mean? It's like, that makes a difference versus somebody online. There's no connection, right?
It's certainly a relationship driven business, and it's a small world too.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't seem like it all the time, but it really is.
So what do you? So here, I want to get into a little bit of this, because this is something I've seen too happening at the auctions, and kind of get your take on that, because it's right up, kind of what I do. So I do, buying and reconditioning, right? You're one of the bigger auctions started doing some reconditioning at the auctions, and I've tried, they've done it for like some of their corporate accounts, and then they offered it like to the dealers. I've kind of tried that a little bit. It's kind of been a nightmare. Like, what's your take on that? Because like we said before, there's not a lot of nice cars out there. And then when there is, everybody's bidding on those. The prices go through the roof, and there's cars that always need reconditioning. What's your thoughts? Because I know this has been brought up before, and what's your thoughts on that, and why don't you guys do it?
Well, in a bigger picture, I think some auctions are almost going exclusively towards that model where we almost don't want to be an auction anymore. We want to be a storage yard or a marshaling yard and get all the recon work. We have started doing more of it here as we've added some fleet lease business, because you have to. But those customers require that you can handle their cars up to a certain certification, the gold level, the silver level. So you have to be able to offer that. To be honest, I want to do more of it. I think it's a big opportunity. And we have bounced the idea around with both buyers and sellers. Hey, if you gave us a flat rate per car, we could go through and get it ready. So you get your car ready here at the auction before you put it on the truck to ship back to Kansas or Missouri or South Carolina or Kentucky or anywhere else. We've gotten some positive feedback about it. We just haven't ever fully committed to doing it. But like I said, with adding some of the fleet lease business, we are expanding that part of our business, and hopefully we'll be able to offer that to more people soon.
I'll give you my opinion on it. Don't do it. I mean, and that's
that's kind of what stopped us. Like, we know we're good at buying and selling cars, and at this point, maybe not great at reconning them. So let's do what we're good at.
Well, and here's the thing. One of the best piece of advice that I got in the car business was from, kind of one of my big brothers, and in the car business. And he told me a long time ago, stick to what you know. And that changed everything for me, because I was trying to do a lot of different things, and I wasn't doing any of those really well. And what you guys do, I think you do it the best. When you get into the reconditioning side of it, it's a nightmare.
A lot of moving parts.
Oh my God. Because that's what I'm the expert on. This is what I've been doing. This is why the guys I sell cars to, I buy them and I get them fully frontline ready. I do all the reconditioning and they pay me a premium for that because it's a service because they don't want to jack with it. That's all I do every day, all day is solving problems and dealing with headaches and so yeah, from my standpoint, I would love it if you guys did it, but it just from what I've seen, it is such a pain because that's a whole nother beast. People don't realize that they think, oh well, yeah, we'll start offering reconditioning because you got all the customer right there, but man, that's a whole different animal on its own. That's like now you're getting into something that you there's so many moving parts to it too and so many variables. Yeah.
When we've talked about it, we actually have talked about it totally separate of Ola, opening it as its own business
Yeah.
and working it independently of the auction because of the things you're saying. There's too many invoices, there's too many vendors to pay, there's too many cars. It's a whole nother collections issue. You
Yeah.
need a dedicated team just towards that.
Yeah. It would be have to be a whole separate entity to even start to make sense. Cause I know that's some of the problems I've seen with the guys that do it at the corporate. Some guys I know that do a lot of business there and they have some experience in there and then they're taking the charges out of their checks and they're messed that up and they're billing them out wrong and it just turns into a nightmare and then and then you're on the hook for it if your guys put a battery in a car and hook the battery up wrong or something, or even if they don't and the motor blows up and now they're going to say, hey, you put a battery in there, Josh, and my motor blew up. I want you to pay for it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's insane. What do you see? I don't know how far out you guys look as far as like 1 year, 5 year, 10 years. As a big picture and like where you guys see yourself now and what you see in the future. Like, what do you see as changes that are going to happen in the future, and like what's some of the challenges you see coming down the road?
We don't talk a lot here about EVs because I think we're all like a little bit scared of it. But that's certainly going to be a challenge for us in the next few years. I mean, we don't really have much infrastructure to handle it. We don't have the charge points. We don't have a lot to do with EVs. I mean, we sell a lot of them, but I think in the next few years, that's going to continue to be a bigger part of our business. We don't even like to post sell because we don't know anything about them. I mean, we got an arbitration today for a Tesla battery that's leaking. I mean, what are we supposed to know about that? Or what are we going to do about that? Send it to Tesla? That's all I could do. I think that that's going to be a big part of what we're doing. I also think that more people will go to the online side of it. I mean, as we said earlier, I always want to have the in lane and certainly be the best at that and keep that as an option. But I do think we'll see more people at least being self-sufficient with our systems and being able to get their own reports, their own gate passes, their own contracts, pay for their own cars, everything like that, where they may be not relying on the auction as much to do it. I do see that coming. We're always looking at some of the latest technology, keeping up with how we do condition reports, how we take photographs of the cars. I mean, I get pitched all the time on AI and how AI can write a condition report and tell me the tire tread depth and where the frame is and where the paint is. I mean, I've seen some cool stuff, but nothing that, I wanted to actually go forward with yet. I mean, we still rely on the human eye to do all of it, but I think at some point that will be sophisticated enough that we'll want to look at it.
That's something that's kind of one of my selling pitches on my deal is right now AI can't see it, feel it, touch it, smell it, sit in it, right? I don't know if it's, one day it's going to be able to do it, but I just don't see where you're going to take AI is going to replace the human element as far as they can scan them. I've kind of seen some of that stuff you're talking about where they'll do like the scans and they can detect dents or scratches or something. But, the other thing is like if I go up to a car and I run my fingernail across the scratch and I can feel the scratch, then I know, hey, it's not going to polish out. Can AI do that yet? Can they teach it that? How do they do that? Because I only know that because I feel it with my fingernail, right?
I know there's metrics out there like MMR or Stockwave will say a car is worth this much money. I mean, do you think that people will learn to trust or come to trust AI to buy a car for them based off of a value? Or they
Right.
might be able to set some parameter. I want to pay up to 100% of what I think I should pay and trust some AI to bid on the cars for them. I mean, I haven't seen that yet.
Well, and that's another thing, like you said, you talk about book values and market reports, but what I've always said is just what kind of touching on what you were saying earlier, the car's worth what somebody pays for it today. And an hour after the auction, it could be worth something totally different, let alone a day later or a week later or a month later. And I think that's, when you talk about there's certain things that work. And this is why I've seen flawed systems with condition reports and market reports and stuff like that. You kind of have a cookie cutter system, one size fits all for a not one size fits all, business, right? Because I've seen cars at your sale for $500. And then what was the Lamborghini there the other day? 500,000?
They want 640,000 for it.
Yeah. Is it SVJ, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an Aventador SVJ.
Yeah. So from a $500 car to a $650,000 car, there's just too much, like the same metrics doesn't work.
I find myself guilty of using MMR both ways. Like tell a customer, oh, well, that car brought MMR, you need to sell it. And then the next customer, like, yeah, forget what MMR says. That's not accurate. Just you need to sell the car for what it brought. So I'm guilty of using it both ways. I think we all are to some degree.
Well, it's the question is when somebody's like, well, what's MMR? I'm like, are we buying or are we selling?
Right. It depends.
Yeah, exactly. How does that work at your auction as far as like, there's so many job opportunities, right? And you usually promote from within, right?
We really try to promote from within. It's pretty rare that, at least at a management level, that we go outside of our own company. We kind of feel like we have good habits and it's a reward to grow from within. And we've had a lot of great success doing that.
I know just in the years, like I said, last 11 years, well, I've seen you come up. I've seen some other people in the business that have definitely gone up the ladder, which I think is always awesome because it's, two things. It's like, one, you're taking care of the people that have been taking care of you. And it also gives the people that are there, they kind of know that, yeah, I'm just not this person or I'm stuck or I don't have an opportunity to progress, which I think that's kind of what you were saying about that job that you were in. You're kind of like, man, is this it or is that my future? Like, I don't see this,
Yeah, we want everybody here to feel like it can be their career. I mean, even the people that are in their 20s here that, kind of come on in an hourly role and maybe it's just a stepping stone along the way. We end up keeping a lot of people and turning it into a career for them and they never go anywhere else.
Yeah. Brother,
I'm trying to come up with one good story for you about like the old days, but I don't know which ones I could talk about.
Tell me one story that's not going to get anybody thrown in jail.
I could tell you some good stories about Billy, but they have to be
like
later.
I said, those stories that I heard originally, like, yeah, we can't talk about a lot of those on the air, but it's just like, wow. I think I'm going to have one of these for my podcast. These are kind of like these more, this is more of the stories and educational, but I'm thinking that I may have podcasts and call it Legends.
Okay.
And I know some guys that are like still alive that aren't in jail or aren't in jail anymore. And bring those dudes on and just let them rip, dude. Let them tell about the old days, man. Because people would like. It's like my one buddy said. He said I could write a book about my history in the car business, but they'd have to put it in the fiction section because nobody'd believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I know the story well enough to tell it, but I remember Billy talking about being at I guess it was Imperial at the time when Rudy Crowder was the general manager. I don't know if you were around in those days or if you knew him or not, but when the corporate came in to bring computers, like the very first computers to run the processes in the office, he said, "What are you doing with those?" Oh, well, corporates, thing of the future. It's where we're going. He said, no, get those things out of here. He said, they're here to stay. And he looked over to the guy in the office and said, you got your 45 on you? Yes, sir. Take it out and shoot that damn thing. They ended up with it, but one of them had a hole in it.
Well, that's classic. Dude, I remember when my parents finally got ready to retire from the horse auction, that was the deal. They'd done cash and check forever with no social media, no online, no internet, no nothing. And my mom was like, that's it. She's like, I'm not getting a credit card machine. I'm not doing any social media. I'm not doing any simulcast. That's where she drew the line, and it was done after that.
Yeah.
Well, brother, I appreciate your time. So go ahead and give us rattle off your auctions, where they're at, and how people can get a hold of you guys if they want to register, if they want to buy online, they want to come see in person. Let everybody know where the auctions are and what cities they're in.
Sure, yeah. We have 5 auctions, 2 in the state of Florida. Orlando Longwood Auto Auction. We run every Friday at 8:30. OrlandoLongwoodAA.com. We have South Florida Auto Auction in Fort Lauderdale. They run every Wednesday morning at 8:30. SouthFloridaAA.com. We also have Speedway Auto Auction in Concord, North Carolina. They run Tuesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. SpeedwayAA.com. Music City Auto Auction in Spring Hill, Tennessee, right outside Nashville. They run Tuesday the same time, but an hour later because of the time zone. MusicCityAA.com. And finally, our newest auction is in Winder, Georgia, between Athens and Atlanta. They also run Wednesday morning, 8:30. GreaterAtlantaAA.com. If you get in touch with any one of our auctions, they can get you in touch with the other 4 to get registered there as well.
Awesome. Is there any plans in the future for any new auctions coming up?
It's always
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Hey, I appreciate your time, brother. It's been awesome. Anybody listening, I am like I said, it's, to me, the independent auction is just, there's no comparison to the corporate auctions. Josh, you've always taken care of me. Everybody at all your auctions has always taken care of me. The nicest people. Like I said, you guys live up to the slogan. It's on the wall, friendliest auction in the world. I just can't say enough good things about you guys. You're doing it right. If I can compliment you on anything, you're doing it right. And nowadays in this business, there's very few that are doing it right. And it shows. You guys are successful. The people are loyal. The dealers love the place. But yeah, and it always starts at the top and works its way down. And like I said, you've always taken care of me, and I appreciate that. And I always look forward to coming there and look forward to continuing to do business.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and we'll see you Friday.
All right, brother. Well, take care, man. Thanks again.